more is accomplished in the pain cave than the comfort zone. So just got to hold on to that. So just grab that for a second, write it down. More is accomplished in the pain cave than the comfort zone. Because the thing is that what our flesh naturally wants is we want things comfortable, right? And those of you watching this that can actually see and not just listening, you don't look like Jason Dames by sitting around being comfortable, right? He had to put himself through pain. He had to increase the resistance. He had to turn up the heat. And by doing that, what naturally happens is you begin to get stronger.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, my name is Jason Dames, and I am absolutely stoked for this podcast on this particular video. We get to have Mr. David Benham on this broadcast, and this is probably one of the most exciting videos or podcasts that I've done ever. And if you don't know who David and Jason Benham are, man, these guys have had extraordinary success. I just got done reading their book called Expert Ownership, and they've built a real estate empire. They've had success, great success in business. They had a HGTV picked them up at one point, and unfortunately, they got canceled before cancel was cool because of their faith in God and standing for biblical marriage and for their pro-life position. Not to mention, they were, they made it in the minor leagues playing baseball. They grew up in sports. So these guys have been around the gym. Like I said, have super success, man. We got Mr. David Benham on today. Thank you so much for joining us, man. I really, really appreciate it. I mean, I'm just like geeked out, stoked about this video.
Hey, man, it's an honor to be on with you, Jason. You're the better looking Jason. So my twin brother is Jason Benham. This is Jason Dames guy. Look at you, man. You're wearing a tank top, and you got your Fabio hair and your Brad Pitt 5 o'clock shadow. Look at you.
Dude, I'm just honored to have you guys on here. And that's what I love about you and your brother, man. It's like I got to hear you guys come into St. Charles, Missouri to speak. I kind of picked you guys up about a year ago through Facebook. Saw one of your videos talking about how you can build a business, but not sacrificing, your faith or your family to do so. And man, it struck a chord with me, and followed you ever since. And then I got a chance to go to this conference in St. Charles, Missouri, personally meet you guys, and I heard you speak on stage. You guys were cutting up at each other, giving each other a hard time. Then I'm reading your book, and you constantly kind of poke fun at each other, and it's such a blast. But if a lot of you guys don't know it, they're twins. They look like pretty much identical. You probably beg to differ with that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we are identical. I'm 2 minutes older, and believe it or not, we live on the same street in Charlotte, North Carolina. And his wife's name is Tori, and my wife's name is Lori. It's crazy. We did not. That's just weird. So we have not.
I'm waiting for Jason to chime in there and say his little joke right there.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he claims that Lori chased him around at Liberty our first year, but she couldn't have settled for second best. That's his ridiculous, idiotic joke. But anyway, so yeah, we got 9 kids between the two of us. I have 5 kids. Jason has 4. So my oldest boy is 22 in college. I have a 20-year-old in college, and then I've got an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a turning 12-year-old. So that's the sweet spot. And his kids are all the same age, less one. He doesn't have the 22-year-old. So we stay pretty busy, brother. We stay pretty busy.
I love big fans.
That's right, which is why we have to keep our health up.
That's true.
So when I see a guy like you, when I see a dude like you, I'm like, yeah, I probably want to follow this guy.
You're talking my love language, man. And for you to stay following me, man, I feel so privileged. I know, offline we were talking about, and I mentioned I feel like a little peon, and you guys are just so humble. I really appreciate that. But in all due respect, you guys have created a lot of different success. I mean, I know you've been on stage with John Maxwell and some great leaders, and I don't say that as just for flattery purposes or anything. It's really an honor, and I'm so stoked about some of the things that we might be able to glean from this conversation. And what I wanted to talk about and ask David to come on here is maybe top lessons that you've learned from the gym. In your book, you kind of brought up how you gave some analogies in baseball. You guys were in the minor leagues, and some baseball analogies of like principles in life. And I thought, man, that would be cool to be able to
Yeah.
pick some of the principles maybe you learned from working out at the gym, and
Yeah.
maybe some life principles that we could take away, through a conversation. And I don't know if you have ones that just stick out to you in your mind when being
Yep.
in the gym. I did create a few questions just in case, we can use as a guideline, but if not, man, I'd love to hear like
Yeah.
maybe some of your top things that you learned, maybe the top 3 or 5. I don't know what that would look like.
Well, let me give you the first one. And this is really important for today's day and age, especially for entrepreneurs that are struggling. And here's my quote: more is accomplished in the pain cave than the comfort zone. So just got to hold on to that. So just grab that for a second, write it down. More is
That's
accomplished in the pain cave than the comfort zone. Because
have
the
to
thing
write
is
that
that what our flesh naturally wants is we want things comfortable, right? And those of you watching this that can actually see and not just listening, you don't look like Jason Dames by sitting around being comfortable, right? He had to put himself through pain. He had to increase the resistance. He had to turn up the heat. And by doing that, what naturally happens is you begin to get stronger, but you also, your fat cells begin to get smaller. So you're getting smaller and stronger at the same time. Now, of course, when your muscles begin to bulk up by supplementing, that's a different case. But the cool thing is that more is accomplished in the pain cave than the comfort zone in every area of life, especially in business. So in business, it is much harder to allow money to be your boundary instead of debt being your boundary, right? Like if you can just borrow whatever you want, then I mean, the opportunities and the options for you are literally endless. But if you say, you know what, I don't want to borrow to consume, I will borrow to conserve, I will borrow to produce, but very conservatively, and I want my cash to become a boundary for me, that's, you know what, your opportunities all of a sudden shrink a little bit, but you become a heck of a lot stronger because now you're living inside of some boundaries. And yes, it's harder, going out and getting a $1,200 car payment on some Maserati or whatever, it's like, yeah, that would feel good, but that's probably not wisdom. It's harder, like what my brother and I did the first 10 years of our business. Jason and I drove used cars, old used cars. Now, they weren't sloppy. They were very well taken care of. But I remember, Jason, this is so funny. Our first business grew to 100 offices in 35 states, and we had a franchise conference, and everybody came to Charlotte. We had about 300 people in the audience, and Jason and I were up there speaking. And I remember after the conference was over with, one of my franchisees out of Virginia Beach, they got into their brand new Infinity SUV that was like that diamond color. God. And it was like a $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 SUV. And I'm the franchisor, right? I am in charge of this whole thing. They leave in their Infinity SUV, and I got into my 1999 Mitsubishi Galant with,
oh my God.
It had 148,000 miles on it or whatever it was. It was crazy. But I remember thinking, it's painful for me not to go out and just buy that because I can, but it's painful for me. But I've got a vision, right? And I've got a vision that I want to be financially independent by age 33. And I knew that if I stay disciplined and if I sit in that pain cave, that financial pain cave, I'm going to accomplish a lot more than sitting in a financial comfort zone. And even those that are watching this that might not be entrepreneurs, you're just working a regular job. Maybe you're a school teacher, or maybe you're a janitor, or maybe you're some sort of, maybe you're a fireman or a police officer or something, and you're not making a ton of money. Thank you, by the way, for being first responders. But you're like, well, what about me? Like what should I do? And I just say, listen, you live inside the boundaries of your income and do the dead level best that you can to set money aside so that you can make investments in the future, so that possibly, like what Jason did with your life, Jason, you had a business, you pivoted in COVID, and now that business is taken off. It's like you got to prepare for a pivot. So if you're in a financial pain cave where you're not living on every dime you bring in, even if you're saving just a little, it's not the amount that you save that matters the most. What matters the most is the discipline that you're building into your life that will take you to the next level. So more is accomplished in the pain cave than the comfort zone. I achieved that, or I learned that when I was in pro ball. I was in college first at Liberty University. Then I got drafted by the Red Sox. My brother was drafted by the Orioles.
Yeah.
Both of us finished in the minor leagues with the Cardinals. And I knew, I saw a lot of, that's right, go Cards. I remember a lot of players that were really, really talented, but they did not have a work ethic. And their careers, they were really successful for a little bit, and then they just peter off. And Jason, I can almost show you to a T those players. And now when I see them on television, or I see them, in a magazine or whatever, they're almost inevitably 30 or 40 pounds, maybe 50 pounds overweight. They weren't financially smart, and so, but those that were disciplined, those that were willing to get to the gym, those that were willing to get there a little bit early, put in the extra work. Yeah, you may have, like me, never made it to the big leagues. I was a minor league guy, but that discipline that I built early in life carried into the marketplace, and really that discipline is how my brother and I built our companies. So that's number one. Now, number two, I'll do this one first, and I'll put my fingers here, because up here you can barely see it. Right here. The second one is that if you want to go up, you have to first go down. Or if you want to go forward, you first have to go backward. Now, what do I mean by that? So I'm a baseball player, and if I'm going to take a baseball in my hand and throw it to home plate, let's just say home plate is that way, right? Do I just take the ball in my hand and throw my hand forward like that? Or do I pull my back? That's right. Now, I'm a baseball player, and I'm sitting up here, and I'm watching that ball come in. Do I take my bat and just throw my bat forward? Or do I pull my bat back and then throw it forward? You see, same thing with basketball. When I grab a basketball and I want to go up and dunk a basketball, which by the age of 15, I was dunking, because I remember Wesley Snipes' movie. Remember that Wesley Snipes movie, White Men Can't Jump? I remember absolutely, man. White men can jump.
I'm gonna prove them wrong.
That's right. And my brother and I worked out so hard. And at 15 years old, I got up and dunked my first basketball. But here's the thing. In order to jump, I don't just stand flat-footed and all of a sudden just go straight up. What do I got to do, Jason? In order to jump, I got to get low and explode high. Same thing. When you are, getting yourself ready to bench press in the gym, you don't just take it off the rack and, set it right back up like it's up. No, you go down and explode it up. Same thing with a squat. Same thing with everything. Same thing with, when you're training and you want to run that marathon, you have to go beyond 26 miles. You got to get in 150 miles in a week, right? And you're tearing yourself down. And then about 6 weeks before the race, you start tapering back and building yourself back up. And then you're right at a peak when that race hits. That's just life. And that's what sports taught me. And that's what I've carried into the marketplace, is that there are times where, we have to actually take our books, and I got to break it down so that I can follow where the dollars are going and make sound financial decisions on the future of my company. Or the same thing in our book, Expert Ownership, that you told me you had read, which I'm so proud of you, Jason. But so Expert Ownership, we have a section in there on systems. And really, it's how to build systems in your company so that you can be on the business and not trapped in it, so that you can actually own the business and it does not own you, right? If you don't have good systems in your business, it's going to eventually own you. You'll take on a few more clients, a few more clients, a few more clients. Next thing you know, your cell phone is blowing up. You can't get free time. There's constant deadlines. You can't figure out one job to the next because now it's all merging together, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to have systems, solid systems. Now, in order to get that, you have to stop and break it down, right? You got to like turn the phone off, wake up early, and break down your business. And that's going backward to go forward. And so, you know, that's what we did last week. I saw that butterfly, by the way. It's so cool.
That was pretty cool.
Like you're jacked out of your mind, you got your hair flowing, and there's a butterfly flying in front of your face.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh, that was cool.
But the key is that, you know, you have to go down in order to go up. You have to go back in order to go forward. And then the third one, and this will be my final one. You can ask any questions you want, but my third one would be, we love the fruits of faith, but often we deny the roots of faith. Now, here's what I mean by that, is that when I opened the Bible, one of the commitments I made when I was in college was not just to study and go to class and play baseball and hopefully get drafted. I made a commitment at age 18, I was going to read the Bible. And that was not some religious commitment. That was a commitment that I felt like I want to get to know God, right? And I want my life to succeed, and I want to know my purpose, and I want to achieve great things. And so I can't do that apart from knowing the God that created me. It's like I just bought a Ford F-150 pickup truck. I love it. But when I open the glove box, what do you think is sitting right there? It's the owner's manual. That's right. And I pulled out the owner's manual and I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know that button. Oh, that's how that technology, that is so cool. And it's telling me how it was built. And it also tells me in the mechanical section, if you want this bad boy to last, you need to do this and this and this on these particular times. Don't put oil where the gas goes, right? And so it's just so important that we follow the manual based from the creator that made us. And so I did to read the Bible.
Interjecting there, like this. So you're telling me that there is truth out there that we should guide our lives by.
Well, of course. So think about this. Think about this. There are a lot of postmodern university elites that are out there right now, Jason, and they're saying truth doesn't exist, or truth is what you want it to be, or, you know, especially some of our political and elected leaders, truth is whatever makes them look better, right? Well, you can believe that truth is relative all you want, but the sun will always rise in the east and set in the west. There will always be a Big Dipper and a Little Dipper. I don't care how much you don't believe in truth. It's true, right? Gravity exists. Go step off a building and see.
Absolutely. Man, it's funny when you say that. I'm always like, hey, why don't you just, if what you're saying is true, why don't you go run in front of that bus that's going 100 miles an hour and tell me that if the bus isn't going to kill you?
It's ridiculous. Now, listen, one of the things I did after I got fired by HGTV, which I can maybe tell you that story, is I bought this really cool watch. Now, you pop the back of this watch off. It doesn't have a battery, nothing. It runs right off of the Earth's like orbit or something. It's crazy. Anyway, but you pop the back of that watch off and everything works in perfect order. I mean, it's just crazy, the gears, and it just works in perfect order. Now, if I had never seen one of these before, ever a day in my life, and let's just say I'm walking through the neighborhood and I stumble on it and I look at it, I'm like, what is this? And I pop the back off and I see everything working in perfect order. Would I be a smart person to somehow logically conclude, I guess over a billion years, all of the leaves got together and this thing came out, right? I mean, it's the height of lunacy. It's insanity. So, think about your eyeball for 1 second and the thousands of muscles in your eye. Or think about how when you get cut, all of a sudden your cut begins to heal. Like, how are you doing that? You're not. It's God created your body. Or when you get into the gym and start lifting weights, and the next thing you know, you go from looking like Jason Benham to Jason Dames. Wow. How does that work? But it is God. It's because things are true.
Absolutely.
So when we built our business, I built my company based on truth. So now all of a sudden at the height of our company, 2012, all these offices, all these companies. And this production company was seeing the fruit of our faith, which is we were selling tons of houses and we were buying other companies and we were creating a ton of jobs, and it was great. And they said, you guys want a reality show? And we were like, sure, we'll take a reality show. And so they put together a sizzle clip. We ended up getting 2 offers. TLC made us our first offer, but then HGTV made us an offer. And HGTV, when they came in and offered us, they said, we know what you guys stand for, because my brother and I are very vocal when it comes to life, when it comes to marriage and all of these things. We're like, look, God wrote the owner's manual, right? If we want our lives to thrive, we might want to do it his way. And so they're like, listen, most of us believe like you do. We just don't talk about it. So you guys, let's just sit quiet and make a really good reality show. And so we were making the show, and that's when all the activists targeted us, and we were cancel culture, like you said, before it became a popular hashtag. And they of course gave us all the anti-labels. You hate women and you hate gays. And it's like nothing could be further from the truth. Those are just labels that they put on people that want to live biblically. So it's like, would you be anti-oil if you said oil goes there and gas goes there, and all of a sudden you hate oil, right? It's like,
yeah, it's ludicrous.
It's stupid. So anyway, we ended up getting fired, and that's where my third point comes in, is that the fruit of our faith, we are seeing the fruit of truth and actually building a government and building a constitutional system based on truth. Now, it was not perfect, but it was a great system that could be amended. We got rid of slavery, thank God. We had civil rights movement, thank God. This is a great, look, slavery existed since ancient times and has been a global atrocity. And America's the first nation in less than 12 years or whatever it was, less than 200 years, we got rid of it. Like,
you mean
it
didn't start at 1619?
Yeah, yeah. Listen, this is a lot of this stuff is just insanity. And so what we're saying now, what Jason and I are saying now, is the roots of our faith are based on transcendent truth, that all men are created equal, black, white, yellow, brown. It doesn't matter what your socioeconomic status is or any of that. And now what we're finding, Jason, is an identity crisis in our nation from a radical leftist media and radical leftist agendas inside the universities and now inside big tech that are targeting people that would say, no. Your skin color does not identify you, right? Your sexual desires do not identify you. Your socioeconomic status does not identify you. Where you live in the world does not identify you. Now, those are partly identity markers, but our ultimate identity is you are created by God, special for a purpose with destiny, and he sent his son Jesus to forgive you of your sin, because we're all sinners. I don't care how handsome you are, Jason Dames, you're still a sinner. We've all sinned. All of us have sinned, but that's the beauty of redemption, is that Christ forgives us, and then he allows our personality and our talents and our abilities, combined with the skills that we develop, to be used to help other people and be a blessing to other people. Now, that came under attack. And that's where Jason and I said, you know what? I'm not going to fall in love and have a love affair with my fruit. I'm going to stay attached to the roots of my faith, and I am not going to back down. And so that's why now, instead of Jason and I being the big superstars on HGTV, we got fired. But you know what? We don't back down. We keep writing books. We keep traveling and speaking. Now we see, Jason, we see a real agenda to fire people from their jobs. I mean, heaven forbid you have divine immunities. Like, I actually have an immune system. I'm not afraid of COVID. My kids aren't afraid of COVID, right? And if someone is vulnerable, then you should not be out and about. You should probably wear an N95 mask, but not that other fake diaper across your face. Even the box itself says it doesn't protect from COVID. I'm not going to live a lie. So,
by the way, I saw a meme there. The guy put like a underwear on with like a poop stain streak across it. It like cracks me up. It was so funny.
Oh my gosh.
I love that. I love that.
And for you to even say that now, people are like, you hate people that are affected by COVID. Of course not. I don't
No.
hate people affected by pneumonia. I don't hate people affected by the flu. But I'm also not going to live a lie in my life and buckle down the entire healthy population and deny the fact that our immune system works and works very well, and deny the fact that we've been eating ourselves into obesity in this country, and the people that are getting affected most are the elderly, the marginalized, the autoimmune, those that are obese, and others. And I'm like, we need to help those people, but don't shut down the rest of society. This is
Dude,
insane.
that's a mic drop, man. I listen to Mike Mutzel a lot. I got to actually interview him on this podcast, and he's got a great YouTube channel, but he's putting out continually all this science showing how, like, people that are healthy, how much better response that they have and how they're not affected. And nobody's talking about getting vitamin D, going outside, and it's actually the opposite. Stay inside, stay away from people. Create more fear, which causes more stress in the body, which impairs your immune system more. Like, it's so nonsense. And I love what you're talking about, is sticking with truth and not compromising the lie. And I think of you and Jason kind of like, when you read the Old Testament, you read the prophets, and you read like how they were so bold. They stood for truth, knowing that they were gonna prophesy things that these people didn't like, knowing that they were probably going to be killed, imprisoned, or persecuted for it, but yet they did it anyway. You know, Paul the Apostle in Acts chapter 20 says, man, everywhere I go, the Spirit warns me of trials and tribulations that are about to come upon me, but my life means nothing to me but to do the will of the Father. And man, like that's what I hear what you're saying. You guys are like this clearing sound gong out there that, you know, people can get behind and follow. And I love that roots analogy too. I could go a lot further with that, but I don't know if you had something to say there.
Yeah, no. It's just, and here's the cool thing about roots and fruit. You know, we're headed into the fall now, and then it's going to be winter, and the leaves will drop, the fruit will be gone, and it looks dead. But it's during that time that the roots are really growing deep, right? And that's where we go back to my first point, that more is accomplished in the pain cave than the comfort zone. And that is so important. Now, you froze on the screen. Are you still alive? Are you still there?
So hey, I have to apologize. We had to end the video a little bit abruptly. And the reason being is I set my phone up on the table when I was doing the interview with David, and the sun was just beating down on my phone, and it caused it to overheat, and therefore I lost him. And David was so kind to spend a little bit of time on that video with us, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you so much, David, for spending some of your time. Hopefully we can get you and Jason on a future video. But I didn't want to, you know, he was very busy and took some of his time out, so I didn't want to, you know, bother him more with waiting for the phone to be able to come back around before we could actually finish that video up. So definitely would love to be able to do some future videos with you guys. Thank you again. This was such a blast. We ended with the roots and the fruits with such a good principle that everything has to start from the root. Your fruits always are produced by what's going on at the fruit level or at the root level. And so if we want to have good fruit, we want to make sure those roots are really, really good. So thank you for that principle. And you know, one thing I would like to just add in, just as one of the principles I wanted to cover, and it goes back to somewhat of the principle that David and Jason shared in their expert ownership book at the beginning about mindsets. And so they were using some of those baseball analogies, like he was explaining about going backwards to go forwards. This also applies with different mindsets just in general that you can take in your life. And some of those mindsets, if you start with the wrong beliefs, sometimes you'll get the wrong results because your actions always follow your beliefs. And so if you're told to do something like maybe follow a fixed amount of calories on an app that's telling you how many calories you can eat, but you're not being very intuitive with your body, you might not get the results that you want. Or here's some of the other ones that I just wrote down just so I'd have it for you. But health versus weight loss, or, you know, so sometimes we're just thinking about weight loss, but when we're just trying to lose weight, a lot of the things that we do end up compromising our overall health, which ends up being counterproductive to the very results that we're trying to get, right? So if we started to think about how can I get healthy versus just losing weight, it's a huge principle. So health versus weight loss. Fast results versus quick results. Again, you're going to start doing a lot of the wrong things if you're just looking at quick results, taking a pill that might put a Band-Aid on it and might get you some quick results, but then you end up in this yo-yo spiral thing. But this applies again in life too as well. Like some things are worth like investing in, and in your time and with your relationships and other areas of your life. Scale versus body composition. You're looking at just a number versus the overall body composition. So body composition means your weight, your fat versus lean muscle mass. And so you might not lose a lot of weight if you're adding muscle, but your body composition or the way your body looks is going to be completely transformed. And so you might be losing weight if you're cutting a lot of calories and going to the gym an extraneous amount, and maybe you're not getting good sleep and good recovery. With that, you're going to lose a lot of muscle mass, which is also ultimately going to slow your metabolism down, and then you're going to hit a plateau. The same is true in all principles of life. If you're just looking at like fixed numbers or fixed things, instead of like, again, going back to being intuitive with your body and just understanding like kind of what's going around in your environment, like what are the things that I can change, like in my relationships or other areas that I can invest in and take some time and look at the overall picture instead of just maybe one isolated thing. And then we have, I would say the biggest thing is like when it comes to health standpoint is one of the things that I've taken away is I also look at this from a Christian standpoint is that my body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. It's sacred. The temple is where they would sacrifice offerings to the Lord, and it was sacred, and it was something that was holy. And so there was certain people like the Levitical priesthood that would go into the temple, and they were the only ones that could go in, and they would have to do all these ceremonial cleansing and wash their hands and so forth. And so what I'm getting at is that I look at my body as being a steward of what God's given me. So we can also be good stewards in other areas of our life, whether it's our finances, our relationships, like I said, our health, even what's going on in our economy and the government and our community. How can we be a good steward of all the gifts and the talents and the things that God's given us? So those are some different mindsets. And again, if you start with the wrong mindsets, you might often get the wrong results. And this is something I wanted to kind of address, and David probably could have communicated that a whole lot better than I could have. But it was so much fun having them guys on. Thank you guys for tuning in and just sharing your time listening to this video. It means a lot. If you like this information, hey, feel free to like, subscribe, share, do all the things that the YouTubers tell you to do all the time. And hey, if you don't want to do that, that's okay too as well. So God bless you guys. We're going to peace out. Boom.